can develop solutions for recycling printer cartridges in developing nations, the cultural and social context and aspects of these nations first need to be identified and explored in further detail so that the solutions that are proposed are going to be consistent with the local systems and will be effective in the long run. In our research of the topic and our conversations with our World Loop sponsor, Mr. Luc Saveri, we've identified several key challenges to recycling printer cartridges in developing nations. So one of the first challenges, the biggest challenge, is that there is a lack of infrastructure or a system in place for recycling, and specifically recycling printer cartridges. And this can be a problem because there might be less of an emphasis placed on recycling and sustainability in these nations, and even less recycling programs in place that we can build on. So it'll be very difficult to build a program from the ground up and fully develop and implement it to recycle printer cartridges. Other factors such as difficult and expensive transportation in a lot of developing nations between rural areas and urban areas can pose serious challenges in implementing a more comprehensive recycling program. It makes it very cost prohibitive and very inefficient to transport recycled printer cartridges and to have an effective program. Another challenge is the inefficiency of transporting small volumes of printer cartridges in these developing nations because the total volume is usually less from the printer cartridges that are used by the citizens. It'll take a lot of volume to balance out the cost of recycling the process. So filling up one of shipping containers will take a very long time and will be very inefficient, but we have to make sure that we're filling them up all the way so that we have an efficient process of transportation. So we need to make sure that we're filling them up to make the process worth our time, and it may not be as feasible in certain less developed or rural areas. Another challenge that we face is the limited social and financial capital for implementing a recycling program. So over here I have an example of a printer cartridge recycling program that is by Close the Loop, but this is in Australia, in Melbourne. But as you can see, there are a lot of sponsors and a lot of people who provide financial help, especially even the city council and other important big corporations that can give the funding to get these programs off the ground. And these opportunities and resources are often missing in developing nations that do not have the needed support to execute an extensive program. There are also other cultural and social barriers that might be a challenge to implementing a printer recycling program. So in a province in China, they actually dump these cartridges in a landfill, and the citizens actually work in these areas without any safety equipment to disassemble these cartridges and get the raw materials and the spare toner ink. And they actually make their living, their livelihood off of this work. And so even though it is difficult, they take the risk to do this, and they make the choice to do this. So if we were to implement a recycling program, this would be something to think about, that we may or may not be having, these people may or may not be having a means of living anymore.